The Someone You Should Know podcast with Rick Anthony, sponsored by Summarize. Repurpose podcast, webinars, and interviews for social media, websites, and email with the help of AI, all thanks to the help of Summarize. Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. On tap today, new music from a glam rock band from the Toronto, Ontario, Canada area. New album is called Tempest Rock, and we're going to feature a lot of music from that today. And my guest is the front man for the band. The band is Hot Apollo. My guest is Jaymes Buckman. How you doing, Jaymes?
Pretty well.
Glad to have you on board. Let's first talk about you, Jaymes. What was your why for getting into music?
I suppose a confluence of factors, mainly just from like my earliest memories. For some reason, I love performing. I mean, I guess related to that, loving attention to. Like, I was the kind of kid. Like, I mean, I auditioned for all the school plays. I was like at like drama camp in the summers, even when I was like 3 or 4. Like even like in like grade school, middle school, I'm not defending this, but as a kid without, I probably didn't have enough outlets or the right outlets at the time. But like, if there was a quiet moment in class, I'd jump on my desk and burst into song. And I also had a knack for writing, especially poetry, lyrics. And I realized that I could, there was a time when my friends were starting their own bands, and I thought I need to be a part of this. But they hated my singing voice, but they knew I had a drum kit because I played percussion in music class. So they said, you know what, we love your lyrics, use that, and we love your passion for this. You obviously are more motivated than any of us. So let's we like you in the band, but let's put you on the drums because you're not a good drummer, but you can at least give a beat and your lyrics rule. And so I stuck with that for a while until I realized they didn't really care about anything more than jamming on the same song for an hour in their basement. They didn't really want to write songs or take it anywhere, which, I've got to appreciate. It did a lot for their musicianship, but I've met a lot of great musicians who don't have the drive and or skill set to be in a functioning up and coming band. You know what I mean? One
thing that I've seen is a lot of people who are just afraid to go to the very next level. They get in that comfort zone where they're happy making $500 a weekend, playing 3 gigs or 2 gigs, and that's it. They don't want to go anymore, as far as let's write some songs. No. It takes away from our actually, making the money on the weekend stuff. So the possibility of actually writing music and going to the next level scares them.
I mean, they weren't even there. I think a lot of them just never even stepped on the stage. Although one actually did join me for a few shows later when I'd started my own band, which, so when I realized that, I actually flirted with quitting music for a while because I was 15 and dumb, and I thought, well, obstacles, annoying. I want to do something where I don't have to rely on other people who may disappoint me. So I concentrated on poetry for a while. And then I realized, no, I need music, and it's worth all the hardship. It's worth all the disappointment because it's meaningful to me. Right. But I wasn't good enough to audition as a drummer for a band. And I thought, if I'm going to start my own band, no one's around to tell me not to sing. So I'm just going to sing, and I'm going to do it until I get good. And I got good. So the writing, the stage presence, all that came naturally to me. The singing I had to really work at.
I think you did a great job. From what I can hear from the music that we're going to feature today, it sounds doggone good. Let's talk about your influences. Who were some of the musicians that inspired your stylings or maybe influenced what you were doing when you were working as a drummer?
All right. Well, actually, for drummer, I was always more concerned with the showmanship because, again, born frontman. So I like people like Keith Moon, like Tommy Lee, just people who could command the stage even from the back. You notice those people, you notice their flair, they were kind of almost the faces of their band, even though they were the drummers. The guy from 69 Eyes also had a bit of that vibe. So people like that. But again, I was not I didn't focus so much on emulating their actual drumming skills because I was not a good drummer.
Mhm.
I could keep a beat with a bit of flair, and that was about it. Now, the person who made me think that going into singing was an idea with any merit at all, as I said, I could not sing, but I had great stage presence, and a way of saying what I wanted to convey, through lyrics. And also, I was a mediocre drummer. And I thought, is there anyone like that? Because there are some people who didn't have the greatest voices, but they could at least play guitar pretty well. At that time I couldn't play any guitar. Now I can play just enough to help with the riff writing process. But I looked at Iggy Pop, and that dude
Iggy, yeah.
also started out in high school bands as a bad drummer before going into singing with an unconventional voice and no instrumental capacity to speak of. And I thought, that dude's made an amazing career spanning decades with no more of a skill set than I have. If that dude can do it, I can do it, or at least, have a shot at it. So I thought, you know what? Let's go. And so Iggy Pop, I would
he's
say,
still doing it. That's the thing that really gets to me. I mean, he's the godfather of punk. He's still hanging in there.
yeah. And he hasn't lost a step, and I love it.
Mm-mm.
And it's, again, because that's that guy, Mick Jagger, also inspirations for it's not that obviously you can do anything you want till your dying day, but how many people can still do it with the verve they had when they were 20? And those dudes, if anything, they're better at it now. If anything, I'd say they're Mick Jagger especially is probably in better physical shape than he was when he was 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That dude. Not being on drugs helps. So those dudes really are inspiring for those reasons.
All right, very good. Let's talk about your band, Hot Apollo. Let's talk about the members of the band and their roles and how they all came together.
So as I said, I played with a lot of musicians over the, since I started the band. And it's been, honestly, it's kind of like dating, you find people and you might, feel a bit of a spark early on, but then as you keep going, you realize, it's not a good, long-term fit for whatever reasons. And it's usually not anything against them. It's just, certain people don't really click in a way that leads to a long-term prosperous relationship. And I'd say bands are the same way. So it was a lot of trial and error, finding people, and then realizing, oh yeah, this isn't quite, what's gonna make it happen here. It's great musicians, great people, but just not, gonna function in the Hot Apollo vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same with, Rolling Stones, Mick Taylor, I think, great musician, great guitarist, but, got replaced after an album or two because it just wasn't the right vibe for that band. And so there's a lot of that. And, but yeah, no, eventually I found the right people who not only were they good musicians, but the different skills they brought, the different skills and energies they brought to the band, really contributed to, a glorious gestalt,
Mm-hmm.
And because it's if I had a band that was composed of amazing musicians who were in every other respect just like me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I don't think I know I would not want that. In fact, I know I would not. And I love me. I seriously do. But that would not be the most efficient band, And I love the fact that the way in which the different ways in which the minds of each member work just come together to make something that is so efficiently majestic.
You got a brand new album out here. How does this one compare to the last one?
I'd say the first one was just, all right, which are the songs I'm burning to get on record immediately? This one, also, cause I have probably hundreds of songs at this point that I want to record, and it's just a matter of time and money to get them all down on, I guess, I don't know how digital music works. I don't know how any sort of recording works, honestly. But MP3 or Wave or whatever it is. In glorious, high quality sound. For this one, obviously that's a consideration too. I do have to prioritize. But I also wanted to have somewhat of a theme, like a sort of like quasi concept album around the sort of stormy, tempestuous craziness that emotions can evoke in you. So that is a sort of underlying theme that comes and goes throughout a bunch of the songs.
And the album is called Tempest Rock, so I think that would be good. You're seeing the theme has to do with the Tempest going through. First song we're going to feature is the one that actually has a real cool video that goes along with it, Fistagons. What's the backstory on Fistagons?
So that was actually inspired by a comic book I read called Runways, about a group of kids who discover their parents are supervillains and decide to fight back with the help of a dinosaur. And I didn't know this when I contacted him, but the director of the music video happened to be a huge fan of that comic book and really was able to take the spirit I was going for without any input from me. So that was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to do too.
Awesome. Very good. Tell you what we're going to do is we're going to include the video down in the show notes. So anyone who wants to click on and see the video for the song, we'll have that down in the show notes. So the song is Fistagons. The band is Hot Apollo. And Jaymes Buckman is our guest. We're going to feature that song right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
We're in line, I forgot to brush my teeth, but my hair looked fine. My parents always seemed quite mild, till I saw them sacrifice a child. I made some friends and we ran away. We met a dinosaur too by the end of the day. The whole situation might have been dire, but I got some new gloves and they shoot fire. Fistagon down, Fistagon down, Fistagon down. Fistagon down, down. Fistagon down, Fistagon down. Fistagon down, Fistagon down, down. A bloody witch, princess in a hat. It's the kind of has, it's like a cat. We have a sweet ride and it's got mad hops, but I never got my license, don't call the cops. Secrets and time travails are just a part of what life entails. But I'm still excited when a new day dawns, because I've got my Fistagons. Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, gone. Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, Fistagon gone, gone. Check out these comments that I just named.
That's Fistagons from Hot Apollo, featuring today's podcast guest, Jaymes Buckman. More great music from the brand new album is coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast, heard on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. If you visit the website, you'll see more than 180 episodes and, of course, recent news and a whole lot more. If you're visiting, we invite you to go ahead and leave us a review. That helps us out big time. Now, according to Buzzsprout, the service that shares us to all the streaming platforms, very, very blessed to reach over 2,300 cities in 90 countries around the world. A couple of new additions include Provo, Utah, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, Opelika, Florida, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast, heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. Hi, it's Rick again for Summarize. Summarize repurposes your content from audio and video into engaging, shareable social posts, email content, summaries, quotes, and more. Hey, it's hard work to create high-quality content from podcasts and video content. Summarize gives you multiple types of content to support your marketing channels, from social media posts and email newsletters to show summaries and a whole lot more. As a matter of fact, if you go there today, you can upload up to 60 minutes for free and find out why I like it so much. Go to summarize.com to learn more. That's SUMMARAIZE.com. Thanks for listening, and now back to our podcast. We thank you for listening. We're talking to Jaymes Buckman of the band Hot Apollo. As a neurodivergent artist, it gives you unique challenges. What are some of the challenges that you faced in the music industry, and how have you overcome them?
Well, stubbornness is basically how I overcome most challenges. Just keep going.
Stubbornness.
But I'd say one for me is I'm not the greatest at like subtext, like nonverbal communication, like reading the room, feeling the room. People say, you know, a lot of jobs are about playing the game, but I don't even understand what the game is. In a lot of cases, I don't perceive it. So yeah, like the creative side of things, the performance side of things, all that stuff comes very easily to me. But like the sort of business side of things is not something I take naturally to. And stuff like establishing like playing the social media game, for instance. I'm not like intuitively adept at that. So that's the sort of thing I have to like force myself to just, pushing at. And I don't have like maybe the finesse for it, but I do have the committedness to keep going. So that's
awesome. Very good.
Those are a couple of challenges, and that's how I've dealt with them.
Very good. You mentioned earlier that you took some time away from music. You were working on your poetry and lyric writing and such. They come from personal experiences, or they just come out of the ether? What's the best way that your writing process actually comes together?
I would say personal experience and or emotion filtered through the ether. Mm-hmm. You know, it just sort of like my soul cast in the most fantastical possible way, and just throwing it out there. So it's honest, but it's also outlandish, all right, which is also honest for me, honestly.
Oh, very good. Very good. Now, the next song we're going to feature from the album Tempest Rock is called Perfect Storm, another great track. What's the story on this particular song?
That was the last thing I wrote for the person with whom I had the longest romantic relationship. It was a kind of, and it was, I think it was like before I fully consciously knew that we were about to break up, but it was not far off. And it was a beautiful person, but we eventually realized together that what each of us needed out of a relationship was very different. But nonetheless, there were some very high highs. And so it's a bit about that.
All right, very good. We'll feature that song right now. It's called Perfect Storm. The album is called Tempest Rock, and the band is called Hot Apollo. And our guest, Jaymes Buckman, right here on the Someone You Should Know podcast. the album Tempest Rock, that's Perfect Storm from Jaymes Buckman and his band Hot Apollo. You've also mentioned the fact that you're involved in acting. Let's talk about that diamond in your crown.
Yeah, as I said, I've always like been a fan of performance, like, school plays and musicals since I was like a little kid. And somewhere around like grade school, maybe middle school, I got hooked up with an agent, and I'll be honest, when I'm not like on a job, it's not at the front of my mind as much as music is. It's because like music is, I feel as though like a lot of artists can understand this, where your primary vocation is the thing you'll do even if everything about it sucks. Like even if like you'll never make any money or get anywhere with it, you'll still keep going just because you love it that much.
Yeah.
And I have that for music. I don't quite have that for acting in the same way. So I haven't like focused as much of my like energy on that, but when I'm on a job, like I bring it obviously, and it is something I do enjoy the process of, but just again, the like, meta of it, the like non-acting part of the acting business, I don't care as much to like, play that game, which is, again, why having an agent's helpful. Whereas, if I didn't have that passion for music, the lack of an agent, which I currently have a lack of, would get to me far more. So that was a very digressive, way of phrasing it. But
Well, you said it though.
I want people to know, if you cast me in anything, if anyone casts me in anything, I promise, like, you'll get a performance like no other. But, I just might not be looking as hard on my spare time for opportunities in the way that I do for music.
All right. Well, if there's someone right now listening right now that would like to get involved with a little bit more about Hot Apollo, a little bit more about your socials, or what would be the best way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shy about giving anything else out. It's easy to remember for most things. The band name is Hot Apollo, HOTAPOLLO. And to keep things simple, that's my handle on everything.
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter, like Facebook. You look at Hot Apollo on YouTube, you'll find us. My email is hotapollo@rocketmail.com. And, yeah, I suppose those are the easiest ways.
Okay. Very good. Well, we'll include those down in the show notes. So if anyone wants to follow along and become friends with you, or to follow and find out, because I understand there's a third album in the works. Is that true?
Yeah, we actually just debuted one of the songs from it for the first time at our show on May the 4th. And we got some really good reviews. One person actually messaged me afterwards to say, James, like, drop this as soon as you can. Like, that song is pure fire. And the audience got like right into it. So, which, it wasn't a huge surprise, but it's good to know that. And it's a bit funkier than some of our usual stuff. Awesome. That song in particular. And, so yeah, this song, this album in general, it's going to have a lot of the same, like, high party energy vibes as the last two, but we're also incorporating, a few other songs that explore like, different moods that have not been as, focused on the past two. So I'm really excited for it.
Good. And any guess to when that actually would be released?
We're aiming for around the end of the year,
okay.
Around the end of 2024, could be early 2025. But the first single should be out I'd say around midsummer.
Wonderful. Awesome. Perfect timing.
And yeah, you can also keep an eye out for hotapollo.com, to get the latest updates. And also, we're a very visual band, so we have some really cool, like, shirts, hats, and stuff like that too.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that, and that's one of the things I was going to mention next, as far as you've got some really nice merch. That's all on your website at hotapollo.com. That, of course, will be in the show notes, because we'd love everyone to start following you guys. And the next feature we've got is called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories where things didn't go quite as planned. You get to a gig and you realize you're supposed to be at another place, or the place is closed down and they didn't bother to tell you, or you wind up and you realize that your directions are completely wrong and you're lost. Any times like that actually show up for Hot Apollo? Would you say? What would you say
what?
Tales from the Road might be?
I had one. And then you said the thing about the place goes down, and this just happened. It was a a celebration party for there's this amazing band called Criminal Inhibition. They're pretty new, but they rock so hard. And their leader, Aubrey, threw a huge, like, awesome concert to celebrate her bottom surgery. And she called it the whole party. So, and it was going to be at this place called Bar Orwell. And within like a week or two, of the announcement of that show, my friend who's a director, and he films a lot of live shows and music videos. He's really a part of the scene. He's like the sort of like videographer of the Toronto music scene in a way, like unofficially. And he's a great dude. But he messaged me and he said he was scheduled to record another band show, and they just messaged him and say, actually, the show's canceled because the place shut down. And said, did you know about this? Does this affect your show? Because I want to come and video that too. And I said, well, I don't know. So I messaged the organizer of the show, and they scrambled to find a new place. And they found this awesome place, which I'd never played before, but I'd been to a lot of cool parties there. It's called the Smith House. And yeah, really cool place. And so we moved the show there. And then we went brilliantly. And then during the show at the Smith House, someone came up to me and said, hey, I loved your set. I'm putting together a benefits concert for Bar Orwell to see if we can get it to like unshut down, basically. Mm-hmm. And would you like to play? And I said, yeah, of course. Just hit me with dates. So that's still in the works. I don't know when that's going to happen, but as soon as it does, I will announce it in all the places.
All right. Very good. Any final thoughts before we get to the last track?
You know what? If you want to get a little bit of inner knowledge about the sort of story of Hot Apollo, one other thing about this album, Tempest Rock, the opening song, Tempest Honey, is the first Hot Apollo song ever written, and it was written when the guitarist and I met each other. Within 30 minutes, we had that song.
Awesome. I like when songs like that come together, really fast and out of the blue type thing. Okay, the last track we're going to feature is Blazing Blue. What's the story about Blazing Blue?
That was a song I wrote for a boy I fell deeply in love with, very fast. And shortly after that, he went on a family trip, around the holidays. And I was going to welcome him back by playing that song at my band's New Year's Eve show, and he was going to come and it's going to be great. And then he stood me up. And then that was kind of the beginning of the end for that relationship, but it's still an awesome song. So I feel as though I came out on top.
Awesome. Very good. Blazing Blue is the last song we're going to feature from Hot Apollo. The brand new album is called Tempest Rock. I invite everybody to check it out. We'll include links to where you can find that or listen to it. And, of course, the website. And we just had a great time. Hope you had a fun time with us.
Oh, me truly, yeah. I thought you were talking to the audience. Yes.
Oh, well, yeah. A little bit of both.
I love your energy, man. Awesome. You're great to talk to. Anytime, man.
Ocean with a lion on my shoulder. His eyes are blue and his heart is bolder. He's got the soul of the jungle and the mane to match. And there's something special about the way we attach. Blazing blue, blazing blue in the spark of his eye. The shades of the sky are the palette of his power. Paint my world with the colors of your creed. This is what destiny decreed. Blazing blue in the spark of his eye. Blazing blue, returns to the sky. Blazing blue. Woo! Blazing blue, and come with you.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.